Hi, my name is Jennifer Merrill, and I went on a journey to uncover the expectation gaps between employers and our newest generation in the workforce, Gen Z. This podcast highlights some of those interviews. I hope it helps support you in hiring Gen Z, getting that first job out of college, or even gives you a better understanding of what will be expected of you once you graduate. I am here today with Aiden Lieb. He is a 2024 graduate in electrical engineering from Purdue University. How are you doing today, Aiden?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Thank you for being here.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, we are talking about workplace expectations. And in these conversations, I'm speaking to employers, I'm speaking to current seniors in college, and I'm speaking to graduates that have been out just a year or two to just see anecdotally what your expectations were and what is really happening in your career as a really new early career person. So you graduated with electrical engineering. When you look back, has your first job out of college met the expectations you had as a senior?
Yeah. So I think I had a very fortunate college experience where the company I'm with now full time, I had a few internships with them. And so I knew graduating kind of exactly what the company culture was going to be like, what the expectations of my work were going to be. So I think I definitely had a fortunate situation where my expectations were almost completely known. And so that's helped a lot.
So can you tell me what you're doing now?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I like to do this intro because I'm an electrical engineer by academics working for a professional services firm that traditionally does taxes and audits and assurance as basically a machine learning engineer or a software engineer who's trying to get into machine learning. Everybody at the company is super new with it, but yeah, I'm doing computer science basically now full time.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? I definitely think that that particular major seems to open up a lot of different doors and opportunities. So when you were looking for those opportunities, I heard a couple internships. So you felt like that was probably pretty key.
Yes.
To where you are now.
100%.
And it also gave you the opportunity to evaluate that work environment, that work culture. So when you look back and you're looking for the internship, were you taking into consideration the environment and or the culture?
Right. Yeah. I think I had good guidance from my parents. And so that was one of the big areas that I tried to interview the other companies on, is sort of what their culture was like. With internships, I feel like not standards, but you can take more risk. It's not as risky because you're only there for 3 months. And so the risks were a lot lower. I feel like companies, when they're interviewing, they put on some form of like outward expression, a little, too good to be true almost type attitude. And so you have to take what they say with a grain of salt, but internships were a great way to do almost trial runs with companies. So I tried my best to ask questions about the culture. My favorite was probably just asking the engineers at the company versus an HR person. I would also have an interview with one of the engineers on the team I was going to be on, which was super helpful. And I would try and ask them what their day-to-day was like. What does a typical Tuesday look like for you? And given that question, I could glean some how the culture was around the company, whether I was super heavy on work ethic, deadline's a deadline, and everyone gets pushed outside of overtime hours, or if it was pretty chill and they had their own thing, they could do their own initiatives, they could come up with ideas and present them to the team and felt like they were being heard and their choices were being implemented around the company. So that was one of my key questions I tried to take with me to all the career fairs I went to when I was looking for internships.
That's an excellent tip. Boy, I can't talk this afternoon.
I can't either.
An excellent tip, though, for those juniors and seniors as they're heading into these internships. And you did 2, right? Would you recommend doing 2?
I would say do as many as you can. My dad always said getting an internship isn't just about trying to find something you like, it's also trying to find what you don't like. And so even if you get a bad internship and you don't like it, that's still a win. At least that's how I viewed it. So I would say chase after any internship you can. One of the other tips I'll give for career fairs is you have the big name companies. At Purdue, it was like Tesla, Intel, HP, big name companies, and they all had giant lines to wait in. You could wait for 2 hours before you get up to the front, and the recruiter, the HR recruiter, mind you, would just say, scan this QR code and apply online. And I would just avoid those lines. And if there was a booth, a small company I didn't know, but it looked cool, I just go up and say, hey, what do you guys do? Tell me a little bit about the company. I might be interested in it. You might be interested in it. We can shave off 15 minutes here without wasting a couple of hours. So find the small companies because it's more efficient for getting through career fairs. And also you're just trying to widen your luck net is what I'll call it, right? So the more companies you talk to, the more chance you have of getting an offer for an internship from one.
I think that's great advice. And I would agree wholeheartedly. It's not just about finding what you like, but also finding what you don't like, including culture, including management style of the people you might be reporting to, including the size of the company. I've worked in 2-3 Fortune 100 companies. And for me, I then decided that wasn't for me.
Yeah, right.
The smaller to mid-sized company under 200 people was really the size that I felt like I could make decisions.
It is. There's like no rules.
When we think about this culture of a workplace, how much do you think that contributes to somebody staying at a job?
I think it's a big thing. For me personally, it's a big thing. And I think for the general populace, it should be a big thing. I think culture is one of those things you have to deal with every day at the company, right? And whether it's a small thing, those add up. If it's something that makes you angry 1% or angrier by 1% every day, eventually that's going to accumulate over 1 year, 2 year, 3 years until it's just unbearable. So I think keeping those little things light and fun and good cultured every day is a big part of people staying at a company.
I would also encourage folks that are early on in their career, stay there at least a year or two.
Yeah.
Even if it's tough, even if you know it's not the right place, otherwise it's going to be really tough for the next employer to pick that up and wonder if you're going to stick around.
Yeah.
Because they are investing money in you. I heard from
And
an
time.
HR and time, people who are investing in you because they believe in you.
Right.
That's a really important thing.
Yeah.
When you went into your workplace for the first time as a full-time employee, do you feel like you were provided the resources and the support you were looking for?
Yeah. And then again, my situations might be a little different. I knew a few of the people in the company before I started full-time. And so that helped to set up those support channels early on. And so my first day, first week, it was pretty welcoming. And if I had questions, I knew who I could go to. I didn't have to ask around for who to ask the real question to, you know? I think the company I'm at, they're very supportive and everyone around is there to help you. And so I had a good first week.
In that support realm, do you have a mentor or do you feel it's pretty early on for you, but do you feel mentorship is important as you grow your career?
I think so. And they also think very highly of mentorship. And again, they're a unique company in that they have a dedicated mentorship program for every employee. Day one, you have this task and work day where you have to pick your career coach. And these career coaches are there, typically senior people that have been at the company for longer and have good experiences at other companies too. They can either be directly like on your team, or if you're interested in, say, like I was a tax person, but I was interested in maybe getting into assurance deals, I could pick an assurance career coach and they could help me bridge that gap between tax and assurance, get me the materials that I need to have the knowledge to actually do the assurance. And then after, I think it's 6 months or maybe a year or something, you can actually decide if you want to transition over to the assurance team. And so that goes for any team on the company, any location geographically. So it's a really cool program where you are basically guaranteed a senior individual to help you and coach you throughout your career, not just give you work to do, right?
That's awesome. I'm going to ask a couple more questions, and these are
Okay.
really important ones.
Okay.
What do you think it is for your generation, so Gen Z,
Hmm.
that will keep you at a job or at a company?
Yeah, that is a tough question. I might pull the cop out card here, but I think with COVID, a lot of Gen Z was impacted like in their prime years, right? So for me, it was senior year of high school and going into college. My sister, who's a year younger, it was her entire senior year in high school and a little bit into college. But I think with that big global event, there came a lot of uncertainty. And so I feel like personally having really good certainty, really good direction, and precise instruction from the employer, from your manager, from your team members is a big thing. So I guess that boils down to just good communication, and maybe that's should be a common thing anyway. But I think with our generation having really quality communication with lots of certainty can help accelerate and make up for those years that we kind of lost in a way.
That's a really important thing. I haven't had anybody touch on that yet, but that might be a whole nother series of things to talk about anecdotally, because I think everybody experienced that a little bit differently,
Yeah.
depending on what school you were in, what city you were growing up, sort of the
Hmm.
cultures of those individual communities, plus the overall when you went to college. I personally had a child living in the data mine, and I got a phone call, you need to come get us right now. And of course, my answer was, I have 2 meetings today. I can't do it today.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't come pick you up from school. And then got the call back. No, Michael has gone home. His room is packed. All his stuff is gone. You don't understand. We're not coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. Not everybody has the luxury.
It was definitely a weird time for everybody, for sure. For your generation, that was probably the first time you were old enough to recollect
Right.
something that sort of took the rug out from under you.
Yeah. And you kind of start to be able to think towards the future, right? Oh, what is this going to mean for my academics? What is this going to mean for my career once I'm supposed to be working in the workforce and making money? Like, am I going to be able to actually make any money, or am I going to be working at McDonald's and not doing what I think I love or what I want to do with my degree or education?
I bet that was really scary, actually.
Yeah. Lots of uncertainty.
Yeah. So I hear 2 really important things. One, internships matter. Do as many as you can,
Hmm.
because it's not just looking for what you like, it's also experiencing things maybe you don't like. So you can get a really clear view of what your priorities are, what type of culture you want to be in, perhaps even what type of industry or role you want to be in.
Yep.
And the more times you can have those different experiences, the better you're going to feel about making your decision later on when you graduate.
That's right.
The
Yeah.
second thing I heard a lot about was certainty
Hmm.
for the employers. So one's for students, one's employers. Really be looking to express to this younger generation what they can expect, that there is a job, that this is how things go,
Yeah.
and having a little bit of knowledge, perhaps even communication, transparency.
Right. Yes. Yes. Even if it's bad news, you'd rather have the bad news than just not have any news at all. Right.
That's a really important thing you just said. And I agree. I would
Yeah.
rather have the understanding of the bad news so I
Hmm.
can prepare or do the things, rather
Or
than
move
kind of
on.
being blindsided by,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
oh, earnings are down unexpectedly. We're going to lay off 10,000 people.
Yeah.
That's scary for everybody. The last thing I'm going to ask you is really to help our employers out.
Okay.
How can employers best connect with your generation?
Yeah. Again, I'll take the COVID route. Like those 1 year or year and a half or 2 years that we were locked inside, house arrest. We had no social interaction. For me, it was my freshman year of college. I wasn't allowed out of the dorm for hardly anything. All of the collaborative spaces were closed. I didn't get to meet hardly anybody except my roommate and a couple more people on my floor. And so I think having just fun social events could be a really big thing to help those new Gen Z employees get to know the team, get to know some of the older folk, maybe get to know anybody in general, right? Maybe they just moved to a new state to start this position and they don't have any friends. One of my favorite internships was down in Florida, and it was my favorite because they had an entire intern program built around the whole summer. And they also had like 150 interns for the summer. And I think it was probably monthly, they would get all 150 together, typically at work, whether it was a town hall or a panel with the C-suite employees. And that made getting to know people really easy. It made you feel like you could talk at work and you weren't just there doing your internship project or whatever. You actually had friends and you had colleagues you could go to, bounce ideas off of, get some maybe guidance or direction on some project that you're working on. And so I think getting the young folk together with the old folk, not old in a age sense, just more experienced folk, I think is a really big thing to bring back some of that social interaction. I think a lot of us going through that COVID kind of thought that, oh, the real world is just work now. We may not have any more social interaction. It may all be virtual. That is probably the other thing I'll say. In person, getting together in person is a big thing. This is great. This is convenient, but nothing beats face-to-face human interaction for building those connections. I think those would be the one and maybe two things that I would say for employers.
You heard it from Aiden today. Do as many internships as you can for students. Have certainty for those new employees and have in-person activities that aren't just work, that are also social. And that should be able to help with some of the socialization skills you missed in that very important part of your life.
Exactly. Yep.
Thank you so much, Aiden. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you as well. Yeah, this was great.